Hello and welcome to Pluribus Unum's Fireside Chats. Not as good as FDR's, but hey, it's something. You know what? I think this background's a little boring, huh? Ta-da! This is the thing I was teasing. Brand new background. It's that flag that I made in like Photoshop with some changes. Basically, what I did is I put a little basically I just darkened it a little bit, because if I didn't darken it, then the word thing would be on the bottom, the little sound wave wouldn't be shown on one side, because one side is literally the same color red. And rather than changing the sound wave's color, I decided to change the flag's color. Plus, this also might help with some other issues that I have, considering a lot of you complain about eye strain when you watch my videos. I'm going to take a wild guess and say that a lot of you watch it in the dark, or your brightness on your screen is way bigger. Because I'll acknowledge that the screen, the color, I put the, brightness on my screen way low, to be honest. Because I personally can't handle that. Which is why I guess it looks way better on other people's screens than others. Maybe I'll put an effect similar to this on the background of other videos so that it can ease it a little bit. I'm not going to do it on the full videos. I prefer to have the text pop out more. But, when I inevitably get to do another main series video, you'll see it. Not for the big project. I'm keeping that one as it is. However, that one won't really have that much of a problem, to be honest. Anyways, there are a couple of other things that I might do to try and change things up a little bit. One thing I was thinking about updating is the logo that I use for the podcast. Not the Pluribus Unum logo itself, but specifically the one for the podcast. For starters, is there even a point of having that on this? Because I like it. I like to have it here because it's called Fireside Chats, and there's nothing even remotely indicative of fire except for the logo, so I am thinking of keeping it. But one thing I want to do is I kind of thought about maybe changing it a little bit. Basically, the one thing I want to do is I want to add another hat. In case you don't know, I'm thinking of adding the Emiliano Zapata hat, but I don't know where to put it, honestly. I don't know if I want to put it, if I want to replace one of the hats that are currently on the logo with it, or if I want to, or maybe I'll even just make a version of this just without any hats, and then see if the hats are the problem. I'm open to suggestions. Leave any in the comment section if you're interested in hearing this out. The only thing that will not be changing so far is the intro. Currently, I want to keep the intro as it is, only because I really want to. By the end of the year, it will change. Whether or not it will be with a music change is a different story. Because that's the one thing I really want to do. I want to change the song. I want to make it an original song and have it be sort of inspired by sort of some lefty type thing. Seems like the winning one seems to be a song inspired by the likes of Venceremos or Se Acabó or Himno Zapatista, or Se Quieres Escribir, basically one inspired by a Latin American or Spanish social song. Not really the one I had in mind, to be honest. I was thinking of doing more of a union song, but I'm open. There's a reason why I picked all those options there, because I'm open to any of those, but I also didn't want to get the wrong idea across. I don't know. Anyways, that's not really important thing I'm talking. It's not really important because I don't. And with that, I'll also probably also make a new. I also want to make a new trailer for the channel, because it's I kind of do want to do some rebranding to an extent. The only thing that I have made it a point that I can't rebrand is the name. Pluribus Unum. I unfortunately can't change it now. It's a little too late for that now. And before anybody goes in the comment section and says no, you can no, no, it's too late. It's too late. It's ingrained in. It's grandfathered in. I'm content with it, with the name and the logo, but But anyways, with all that out of the way, let's get right into the news. First, we're going to be talking about something that is very interesting and very sad. Well, I wouldn't necessarily say it's very sad. It's sad to an extent. Let me explain when I get into it. The ADL faces Wikipedia ban over reliability concerns on Israel anti-Semitism. So basically, for those who don't know, the Anti-Defamation League is one of the leading worldwide organizations that has decried anti-Semitism. Basically, there was a prominent Jewish person in the area named Leo Frank. He was convicted for the murder of a 13-year-old employee at a factory he was a superintendent at, but many people in the ADL said, like, hey, this is a bit weird. This seems a bit suspect, and believe that his persecution was in fact because of anti-Semitism, which historians generally agree with, believing that he more than likely was innocent of his crimes. And they've generally been more of an advocacy group for broader, issues. One of the big things is that they also have a huge, sentiment in regards to hate symbols. And sometimes those hate symbols can be seen as a little bit controversial. One of the most recent ones that many people might remember is back in 2016, they were the organization that labeled Pepe the Frog a hate symbol. Even though they were explicitly talking about the far-right, anti-Semitic, racist, transphobic memes of Pepe the Frog, it was misconstrued to be a critique of Pepe the Frog in general, which in turn led to Pepe the Frog to become even more of a symbol of the alt-right. However, they've also tried to combat quote-unquote anti-Semitism on the left. And one of the biggest ways that they've been trying to do it is by explaining that they've been one of the groups that has been trying the hardest to make anti-Zionism be equatable to anti-Semitism, being very much a pro-Israel organization as well. And they've tried their best to make that notion well known, especially on Wikipedia, where they've been trying desperately to make elements of anti-Zionism and equating it to anti-Semitism. I think they would do stuff like try to add anti-Zionism in the page regarding anti-Semitism, and not including rather than, because I think if you go to anti-Semitism, anti-Zionism would be on the page, but I think they make a point to explain that not all people who are anti-Zionist are anti-Semitic in nature, much in the same way not all people who are Zionists are in fact pro-Jew. And due to this, Wikipedia editors have basically made a unanimous decision that the Anti-Defamation League can no longer be used as a citation in regards to anti-Semitism, because the ADL itself has been ruining its reputation on that, specifically due to its defense of Israel, and again, equating all anti-Zionism to anti-Semitism. And the truth of the matter is, this is just the objective fact. It's all the ADL's fault. The ADL itself is the one doing this. I'm sorry. The guy who's in charge of it, Greenblatt, he explicitly is one of the reasons why this is bad, because he's been rallying really, really hard on this, especially giving explicit commentary on the Israel-Palestine situation, and it's just this is one of the leading leaders of a prominent Jewish organization. It's one of the biggest problems that a lot of people really do have in regards to this issue. When a person is super supportive of Israel and everything they do, and isn't even willing to remotely criticize Israel for the bad things they are doing, it will lead people into being, and again, the equating of Israel and Judaism, or anti-Zionism and anti-Semitism, that is only going to hurt the Jewish community. That I know this because this is literally what has been going on. The ADL's reputation is now in the trash because they chose to support Israel over explicitly supporting just Jewish values and, calling out actual anti-Semitism, not even acknowledging the very simple fact that, again, there could be anti-Zionists who are not anti-Semitic. And by, again, equating the two, you are not only allowing actual anti-Semites to go unchecked, but also letting people who are, an example of this kind of came very recently, where Jamal Bowman made a non-controversial statement where he said, that the equating of Israel and Judaism and people seeing people who use Judaism as a defense of Israel's actions, that will only lead to more anti-Semitism. And then there was Aaron Rupar, he said big yikes from Bowman, to which I'm just why are you booing him? He's right. That's literally the truth. I know this from experience. I will point out the objective fact that the leader of the new Black Panther Party is on the record as saying they believe that Hitler was justified in the Holocaust. And then when I bring that up to someone else, they'll be like, oh, you're just like those people who smeared Jeremy Corbyn. It's like, see, you did this. I didn't do this because I acknowledge the difference. Anyways, since we're on an anti-Israel track, let's talk about more Israeli news, because this news story, when it dropped, it quite genuinely just like, again, this is one of the very simple examples of like looking at Israel objectively as they are. Let's just get into it. Let's just read it. The leader of the IDF, like one of the leaders of the IDF, Daniel Hagari, went on an Israeli news channel and said, quote, "The idea that it is possible to destroy Hamas, to make Hamas vanish, that is throwing sand in the eyes of the public." Literally just point blank, just criticizing and objectively stating that ending Hamas cannot happen. Because another interpretation of the quote that I've seen around is like, Hamas is an idea, not a organization. And this just kind of doesn't this completely blatantly show what has been going on? Because like, if one of the leaders of the IDF is openly stating, yeah, we can't actually destroy Hamas, then it's like, dude, what the fuck have you been doing for the past 7 months? I'll tell you what they've been doing. A genocide on the Palestinians. And I know this because literally basically every single member of the Israeli government has been stating this since October 7th, but for some reason, people just can't listen to them for some reason. That is the weirdest thing of every single Israel Zionist person. It just really perplexes me. They're literally just like reactionaries and conservatives. In order to believe what they believe, they literally have to turn their brains off and not look at what is objectively happening. Like, they can't open their eyes and acknowledge the very simple literal fact that if you bomb an entire country and videos of those people's children being carried away in body bags happening every single fucking day, like, every time that happens every day in Palestine, like, quite literally, but you can't just simply acknowledge this fact because why not? I don't understand. It is objectively, like, what is objectively going on is a genocide. What is objectively going on has nothing to do with Hamas. If it wasn't Hamas, it would have been someone else. It would have been a different terrorist group. It would have been Al-Qaeda. It would have been anybody. It would have been any excuse. If this was all about Hamas, why did this start before Hamas existed? And it's also just quite literally the flaws and brain-dead interpretations of Western foreign policy. They literally think like, oh no, if we just keep bombing this area, then they'll get the hint. Even though the enemy is literally just pointing state like, hey, here's what you can do to not allow us to do these bad things, and then we just don't do them. But then you can't acknowledge the fact like, maybe we should do this thing, but no, you can't do that. Like, literally, remember, 9/11, Osama bin Laden literally point blank stated that one of the reasons why he did what he did was because the US was invading all these Middle Eastern countries and was helping Israel in committing a genocide against the Palestinians. Maybe if we send the troops home, stop giving Israel money, maybe we wouldn't have an Islamic terrorism problem. But no, reactionaries have to literally make up every single other reason why they did it. It's like, it's like the fucking JonTron clip where it's like, if only they left some sort of clue. It's like, they did. They explicitly told you what's going on. Maybe do things that would prevent this from happening in the future. And I've seen this with people who are pro-Zionist. They'll literally be like, oh, it's nice fairy tale land to think that's how it works. It's like, I don't know. Have you tried it? We haven't tried the things that I'm doing. We've been doing the things that you've been advocating for the entire time. Things have not gotten better. Maybe we should try something different. And it was interesting I brought up 9/11 because, something interesting just randomly dropped about 9/11. Okay, so apparently, very recently, the 20th, like June 20th, there were some documents about 9/11 that were, like, unsealed. Like, there were some unsealed, like, things about 9/11. Because, like, with every pending investigation that the United States government does, like, there's a certain period where they keep some of the stuff hidden. But there's been a recently unsealed document that literally has a member of the Saudi intelligence agencies, Omar al-Bayoumi, like, literally an intelligence agent of Saudi Arabia, who had ties to two members of the 9/11 terrorist attacks. They found there was a video of him recording the entirety of the Capitol area, including but not limited to security outposts, the airport, the Washington Monument, and explain, like, oh, if you see the Washington Monument in this area, then if you turn around this area, you see the Capitol building. And he makes explicit mention of a plan that is happening. I forgot to mention, the video is from 1999. Interesting development. And yet, somehow, the United States is still a super pro ally of Saudi Arabia, which means that none of the people get punished for anything. Quite literally, what the fuck is going on, man? Like, this just is topsy-turvy crazy land. Why is this a thing? Why is it that there's literal video footage of the Saudi intelligence agencies being like, oh yeah, here's the plan that we're going to do, that we are recording in 1999. Interesting. Like, And, cause, like, there's, like, really weird things, cause, like, pre-9/11, like, understanding of it, it seems really weird just to hear it as a concept, but apparently it is a thing where it's like, remember, 9/11 was a thing that was planned by people. There were time period. I see this sometimes when I go on, like, like, weird YouTube short, like, things. There's, like, this guy who does, like, morbid facts, where one of the things that he brings up in a couple of them, because a lot of times they just recycle the same facts over and over, but one thing that he brings up is that allegedly James Woods literally, or I don't know if this is real, this could be real, this could be fake, but James Woods makes the claim that one day he was on a flight, and then on the flight there were some Arabic men who were whispering something, who were very suspicious to him, so he reported them to the police, but they didn't do anything about it. I mean, it just seems weird. But anyways, now let's move on to the last news story, which is the only one that is quite literally 100% American related. And it has to do with one of the two people who are seen as the weakest in regards to protecting the squad. Not Jamal Bowman, his race is really close. It is Cori Bush. And big bombshell that happened to reveal something interesting about her opponent. Wesley Bell, a St. Louis prosecutor who is mounting a formidable Democratic primary challenge against Cori Bush, is campaigning as someone who will produce more tangible results for the district while sharing many of her same left-leaning values. But one line on Bell's political resume is at odds with his promise to champion a progressive agenda. In 2006, Bell managed the campaign of a conservative Republican running in the same seat Bell is seeking today. The candidate, Mark J. Byrne, ran as a fierce abortion opponent and gun rights crusader. I intend to protect the rights of the unborn, his campaign website read. I believe that there is no greater job for elected representatives. And Wesley Bell's campaign has tried to do some damage control by stating, nearly 20 years ago, Wesley helped a longtime friend by volunteering with his campaign in spite of their differences in political affiliations and positions on many issues. Wesley has been a progressive prosecutor working to overturn wrongful convictions and refusing to prosecute women for abortions, and he will be elected progressive member of Congress who works with President Biden. Now, this is one big thing that is very interesting. many people are trying to point out again, like, no, you see, the problem is, like, no, you see, he's not a Republican. He's not a Republican at all. He was just friends with a Republican. He was just friends with a rabid anti-abortion Republican. It's like, how does this help you? How does this help you again? Like, I mean, this is just the biggest thing that really shows, like, he's just a fake, a fraud, much like Latimer. These two are fakes, frauds, and Republican plants. They claim, like, this left-wing record, which does not exist. Like, I mean, literally, there are a lot of lefties in New York that quite literally are really sad about Latimer because they literally say, like, Latimer, we used to love you, man, but now you're just, like, ruined. It's like, he doesn't really have a left-wing record. Not really. They have a record as a quote-unquote Democrat. That's all they have a record on. But that's it. They're libs, nothing more, nothing less. And that's quite literally the biggest issue. Like, I mean, and also, maybe not even that, because a thing that also happened is that there are some people who, when they read the story, they started looking further in, and it turns out that at that same time, he was donating money to 2 other Republican campaigns in the area. I mean, they could have literally used the excuse, like, maybe, like, oh, he was younger, he didn't understand politics at the time, and now that he's gotten older, he's matured a bit. I mean, they could have used that. That would have probably worked a little better. But the thing is, like, this kind of just makes it look worse. Because, like, in what world would you consider someone like that your friend? I mean, people point out the fact that, literally, his friend is also a election denier who literally supports the January 6th insurrectionists. Like, quite literally, why is a person like this your friend? It's much in the same way, like, a lot of people, like, criticize a lot of figures as well. Like, literally, it'll be like Ruth Bader Ginsburg and Antonin Scalia. It's like, oh yeah, we have this big, different voting records, but, like, you know, we're actually, like, really close pals. Like, then what is your actual moral values then? Like, what actual moral values do you have if you're not serious enough to then, like, I'm not even necessarily saying, like, oh, you have to see all your opponents as, like, your enemies, but, like, I mean, a lot of these people quite literally deserve it. Like, Antonin Scalia does not deserve liberal friends. If you could be friends with someone who will literally vote away rights for certain people, then it's like, how can we honestly trust you to fight for those issues? Like, if you had let's just say hypothetical scenario. AOC was friends with quite literally Adolf Hitler. Would you seriously trust AOC to be able to push for a progressive left-wing agenda when her best friend is literally Adolf Hitler? No. That would be a stupid thing to even insinuate could be possible. Anyways, Cori Bush 2024, let's go, gang, let's go. Now let's move on to the main topic of this video. Ending the short little mini-arc of Pluribus Unum's Fireside Chats. And oh boy, did I pick an interesting topic to go over. This is a very controversial one to a lot of people, regardless if you're queer, straight, trans, cis, right, left, etc. The name of the topic gives you a very indicative reason why everyone is hot on the subject. But allow me to give you some background, some debunkings, and the objectively correct take on the issue. First, I guess I should answer one simple question. What the fuck is rainbow capitalism? Well, simply put, it is when companies try to appeal to LGBTQ people to get money. But there's a little bit of a longer story to explain how this came to be. As we all know, for a long period of time, the United States didn't really have an LGBTQ movement. It kinda did, but not really to an extent. The first gay rights movement in the United States was the Society of Human Rights, which was dissolved mere months after its foundation, as the members were arrested for their, quote, strange sex cult. The group was in fact not a strange sex cult, it was a gay rights organization. So the only gay rights movement in the United States was the movement that they did right smack in the closet. If you were lucky, you would be born into a rich family that could keep that part of your life secret while you did stuff behind closed doors. Otherwise, you were stuck beard shopping, and unless you knew someone or were gay, the concept of a gay person just did not exist. At most, you could understand asexuality, but the only way you could do that is if they hid it under some sort of religious pretext. But that ever so slightly changed in the immediate aftermath of World War II. The 50s is when gay culture and the precursor to the modern-day LGBTQ movement began, which only strengthened in the 1960s, culminating in the Stonewall riots of 1969, which made gay subculture too large to ignore. The late 70s, early 80s is kind of like the 70s and 80s were kind of really when gay culture kind of started blowing up in the United States. Music and shows that kind of had little bits of gay elements. Usually involving someone kind of behind the scenes. For example, a music artist that very much was obviously gay, even if they didn't admit it. Or maybe a member of the cast who, here's some examples. I could rattle off a ton of musicians that fit in this category, but I'll stick with, the example I was going to say, a member of a TV show who would be gay. One of the most infamous examples, or famous, was in the 60s to 70s with Star Trek, where we had Captain Sulu. What is he? Is he captain or commander? Regardless, Sulu. Sulu, played by the famous actor George Takei. Takei very much being gay. And according to him, depending on your interpretation, he was either open about it, he was kind of open about the fact that he was gay. It was kind of an open secret. I don't think he explicitly stated anything, but it's apparently a lot of the cast just knew. Allegedly, the only one who didn't pick up on the fact that he was gay was William Shatner. But it was still a subculture. It wasn't part of the mainstream culture. It was kind of there, again. But you had to, kind of look in between the lines. Such as the case with, again, I use this example over and over and over again this Pride Month, but let's be real. The YMCA song, it's one of the most very bluntly, openly gay songs I've ever heard. And it was played constantly, not only at the time, but ever since. Literally every single sporting event quite literally does the YMCA song at one point. Mostly, again, serving because of the winks and nods, but not explicitly being super gay. Even though, look at the music video. Shocker, the band's members were gay. And a similar thing with other musicians, like Freddie Mercury or Elton John, where it was very obvious that they were gay, even if they didn't explicitly state it. I should state Freddie Mercury is his sexuality is a little bit more complicated, because I think a lot of people interpret him to be gay, but he might have been bi, because he actually seemed to genuinely have romantic feelings for one female, but every other person who he was with was male. And that was kind of when you sort of saw that gay subculture kind of started becoming part of the mainstream. Again, people like Freddie Mercury became very big hits in the era. And Elton John, they became big hits in the era. Because not only did they have the mainstream audience, but it was also because even if they didn't have that mainstream audience, there would always be one subsection of the population that was guaranteed to buy their albums, to buy their stuff. Similar things for TV shows. There's one TV show that was made purely with the intention of being a show for older women to like and enjoy, The Golden Girls. But a certain other subsection of the population started getting really into it. Gay men. So what ended up happening is not only did they keep pushing on to appeal to that group that they were aiming for, but also shifted the show a little bit to start appealing to their gay audience. So the market started going, maybe we should start appealing to gay people this way. Because before then, you know what appealing to the gay audience was before in the early 50s? It was fucking making porn. That was literally the only way you could appeal to gay men. But now you could find a way to appeal to them and make them a bit more mainstream. Shock while shocks, gay people are more than just people who consume pornography. And we've seen this maintained to this day. From inserting gay characters into shows and movies, to a very simple change the logo to rainbow during June in order to appeal to gay people. And a lot of people have a lot of thoughts on the subject. And I'll immediately dispel the biggest notion about rainbow capitalism right here, right now. Rainbow capitalism is not proof that the elites, quote-unquote, like our politics. As I've seen a lot of fascists say online, a lot of people really like to believe the elites are on my side because there are gay characters in TV shows. What? Really? Really? the elite is on the same side as the guy who wants to take all of their money and redistribute it to the poor. You're really going to claim that Disney and me are on the same fucking side when the system of governance and society that I want would literally break them up, tax them to oblivion, and take their most prominent characters, strip them of any uniqueness, and then give them back to the public. Literally, under my system, Disney would not own any of the fucking characters that they own at all. Like, none of them. None of them. Again, like, but based on what? Because two girls blushed at each other in a TV show? There are so many things wrong with this, but I'll boil it down to a very simple question. Do you honestly think that Disney gives a fuck about gay people? Like, do you honestly think that? If you answered yes, wrong. Disney actors might care about gay people. Disney writers might care about gay people. Hell, I'll even grant you maybe individual Disney executives might care about gay people. But if you think the Walt Disney Company sees gay people as anything more than nice little rainbow dollar signs, then you are fucking stupid. Remember that whole shebang about the fucking Don't Say Gay bill? Where Disney walked up and white-knighted for the LGBTQ community and got into a fight with Ron DeSantis over the bill so they could act like the good guys? Like, literally, they're just like, oh, yeah, you see, we are like the impassioned supporters of gay rights. A thing they do quite literally every year during Pride Month, where they're like, we love you for who you are, we support you, blah, 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 blah. Like, they'll do this, like, but then, literally, that same fucking year, I shit you not, Disney literally donated $200,000 to the same people who wrote the Don't Say Gay bill. You and Disney are on the same side. No, we're not. I would never donate $200,000 to them. And there's a reason why they donated $200,000 to them. Because their interests align more with the Republicans than they do with Democrats or the gay people or the left. They don't align with the left at all. They align with the right on all this stuff. They just don't give a shit about the socialists. This is one big thing. You really think like the left and right spectrum is socialists? They don't give a fuck. They don't matter. Left and right don't matter on social issues. They matter on social progressivism or not. Which, again, Disney doesn't care. Disney had generations of racism, sexism, homophobia that like rallied hard about them. Like, that was their bread and butter for a majority of their lifetime. And then you're gonna pretend like, no, you see, now that they've quote unquote changed on it for like a little bit, they're like 100% like super like 100% aligned with the LGBT movement. It's like, no, they're not. And to show you again how it's just theatrics, a recent story showed that this year, the Walt Disney Company donated $87,000 to the Florida Republican Party. Again, do you really think they give a fuck about gay people? They're not on my side. You really think that they give a fuck? They're not on the same side as me on the LGBTQ issues. They're not. Looking at their donations, looks like they're on your side, buddies. And another thing to show how they're not on my side is quite literally the objective, like, again, the same year that they were supposed to be, that to show that they were truly like, we are gonna white knight and stand up for our gay brothers and sisters, they revealed that they were going to be re-adding a gay kiss into their film that was gonna be releasing that year, Lightyear. Like, they're like, yeah, we're so pro-gay, we're gonna re-add the scene in Lightyear. To which, almost immediately, everybody responded with the same thing. Wait, re-add? What do you mean, re-add? Because, right between the lines, Disney revealed that they were going to cut that scene. A scene that they literally already planned to cut. They wanted to get brownie points for putting it back in. Like, yeah, we did such a great job. It's like, what? You don't get brownie points for fixing a mistake you started. What? And that is basically a exemplification of their sordid history with their gay representation in film. If you know anything about Disney and its reputation in regards to gay representation, you would know that it's not necessarily the best, despite the fact that a lot of fascists really want you to believe, like, oh, you see, they're like forcing the kids to be gay because they're putting all this stuff in the gay, like, kid shows gay. Like, again, you have to be completely fucking stupid to even remotely think that. Do any research in Disney's history, and you'll find out they have this this is this thing that happens over and over again. Disney has a big press release for their upcoming movie very recently, and it'll announce that they're going to have their first gay character. And it's going to build up hype for the movie. And it's going to be like, you guys better tune in to see the first gay character, in order to hype up gay people potentially going to see this movie. Even though realistically gay people were already planning to see this movie because, let's be real, a lot of people who are LGBTQ happen to be fans of Disney. Disney the brand, Disney the films, not Disney the company. Then, when it's time to go see the movie, turns out, nope. Literally, the thing they've been building up for literal months at this point, turns out it's literally just a blink and you miss it moment. Wow, these two characters who literally don't even have a name are a married couple? Wow! Amazing. Reference to Finding Dory. Wow, a male character danced with another male character? Beauty and the Beast. Oh my god, that's amazing. I've never seen this before. This was so worth the fucking half a year hype for this scene. Wow, a female cop mentions that they have a wife for literally 2 seconds and then disappears completely? Wow, what an interesting thing. Oh, conveniently, all these moments are very short, can be edited out, or are literally just dialogue, so they'll be redubbed out of existence. Interesting. Like, I mean, this is one of the big things that's a problem with LGBT representation, because it's a criticism that LGBTQ people have made, where it's like, we have a lot of differences. There's gay characters who happen to be gay. There's a difference between the two. I don't think I'm necessarily qualified to understand this, like, as best as I can. I'll try to be this as best as I can. To me, a gay character is a character who you cannot remove their sexuality. Like, their sexuality is ingrained into their character. Much in the same way. Like, I'll give an example that is not gay. Like, Black Panther. You can't remove Black Panther's race. His character does not work if his race is changed. A gay character would be a character who could not necessarily work if they were not gay. And usually one of the easiest ways to do it is to have a coming out story, or have a story of them being in a male relation, like in a male-male relationship, or a female-female relationship. Like, that is what a gay character is. A character who happens to be gay is a character who you can remove their sexuality and still have a developed character. To me, like, these two things can kind of be seen as, like, synonymous, really, but there is a little bit of a difference between the two. I don't know, if you're a person who's, like, into, like, queer film theory, James Somerton, you can plagiarize something in the comment section, find something, and you'll understand it. But anyways, like, that seems to be, like, the big difference. And for me personally, I guess I technically do a lot more writing of characters who happen to be gay, because I do write characters, I write, like, stories, I write ideas for, like, products, maybe, and what I usually do is I will create the character first, and then I'll, like, change aspects of them to, like, fit. Like, I literally see characters as a completely white blank canvas. Like, literally, feminine or masculine build, like, completely white, like, pale white, no eyes, no anything, and then I slowly add, like, the, like, elements of the character's, like, personality and stuff, and then, by the end of it, I start thinking, does this character need to be a specific race? If not, then I don't really see a problem, like, making them a race that, like, because literally, it'll just be like, this character doesn't really need to be a specific race, so I can literally just make them whatever race I want. Unfortunately for a lot of people, that defaults to them just making them white, or, like, a cis-white male, or, like, cis-white female. Like, but I don't really think that. It's like, I mean, if there's nothing wrong with it, why can't I just make this character trans? Why can't I just make this character black? Why can't I make them black and trans? Who cares? It's my character, I can do what I want. And a lot of people seem to like that. Allegedly, people seem to like that. It's like, why does this character's whole personality have to be that they're gay? It's like, no, it doesn't have to be. It can be something else, but we also need a character whose like sexuality is intrinsically linked with them. And you might think that this might technically fall in that category, but the problem is, a lot of these characters aren't even characters. Like, the female cop, I haven't seen Onward, but I don't think she plays an active role in the plot. So a lot of them are quite literally just props to be used to build attention. And I gotta level with you again. Adding a gay character does not automatically mean that you're like an ally or a friend of gay people. J.K. Rowling literally apparently just makes characters gay randomly, and she is nowhere remotely close to being an LGBTQ ally. I remember back in the day when she got heavy shit for the whole Dumbledore thing. And one of the biggest criticisms that maintains to this day is the fact that even though Dumbledore has been gay for years, nobody has done anything even remotely indicative to explain that. Like, quite literally, it just so happens, like, literally, everybody always mentions, like, the joke about J.K. Rowling is that she conveniently makes it so that literally every single second that he's not on screen, he's literally just sucking cock and, like, riding cock every day. But when it comes to him being on screen, it's just never mentioned. And then she's just like, yeah, brownie points, I got a gay character in the show. I got a gay character. Does that count? It's like, no, you didn't. This isn't a gay character. This isn't a character that happens to be gay. This is a character, and then you just stapled a pride flag on them and expect people to think like, oh yeah, that's the same thing. When it's like, no. They even literally made a fucking prequel movie with Dumbledore in it, and they still just don't mention that fact that he's gay. And the same thing can be said for literally every single show that has LGBT representation. Because again, a lot of people also try to point to the shows like, oh, you see, they're trying to influence the kids or blah, blah, blah. No, it's not. No. It's not Disney. Disney didn't make the characters have, like, shows have certain gay characters. They didn't make that decision. It was, in fact, the creators of the shows that made their own individual decisions. And if you actually do any research, again, you'll see that things don't quite work out. While the companies can publicly express, like, oh yeah, support for the LGBTQ movement, every single thing behind the scenes will point to you the very objective fact that they are by no means allies, and they are by no means remotely indicative of supporting LGBTQ causes. And I have 4 shows that have a direct example to explain the reason, 2 of which happen to be from the company that allegedly is the quote-unquote woke people. I think if you're watching this, you kind of already expected to, like, have some sort of, like, of this stuff explained and spoiled, because I've done it in previous episodes this Pride Month. But I guess I should say this. Heavy spoilers for the shows Gravity Falls, Voltron Legendary Defender, Steven Universe, and Owl House. If you haven't seen any of those shows and want to watch them, by all means, go do that instead. I've watched at least some of these shows. Okay, I've watched Gravity Falls, Voltron Legendary Defender, and Steven Universe 100%. I only caught the end of the Owl House. Alright, so first we'll start off with Gravity Falls. The show Gravity Falls has 2 police characters, Sheriff Blubbs and Deputy Durland, who are portrayed to be very, very close. Like, I mean, very early on, I think they're just portrayed as, like, really good friends. But then as the show goes on, they, like, do really weird moments. Like, they're, like, really interesting moments that just happen. Like, there's one moment where like, Deputy Durland looks at Sheriff Blubbs and says, like, wow, that's amazing. Look at this. We have a map to buried treasure. And then Blubbs will turn to him and say, with you, every day is a treasure. And that's the whole joke. They have, like, an affectionate, like, relationship. And Disney was a little like, so they kept asking Alex Hirsch to tone down the relationship that is 100% extremely kid-friendly and can't really even be 100% interpreted as being gay. And we have proof of this because Alex Hirsch himself has literally posted the emails that Disney sent him about many of the things that he had to censor in his show, many of which were very much not anything remotely bad. And here's the exact interaction that he had in regards to them asking him to change notes about Sheriff Blubbs and Deputy Durland.
Page 380. Please revise the action of Blub's putting his arm around Durland. As noted in previous concerns, their affectionate relationship should remain comical versus flirtatious.
Nope. They're buddies. Chill out.
The gesture is approved in this context.
Quite literally, they just asked him to remove a character putting their arm around another character. That is quite literally one of the most non-sexual things ever. That's just fucking stupid. Like, and that's kind of the big thing. That's kind of like the really big thing. That was really controversial. It's like, Blubs and Durland were very much portrayed in a very tame, very safe for work. Not even, again, you had to like look hard to even interpret their relationship to be gay very early on. Like, it wasn't until like literally the end of like the first season, like the middle of the second season, where I even started picking up on the context clues that maybe potentially they might have been gay. Though that could be because of something else. But regardless, next show, Voltron Legendary Defender. Alright, before I get into this, I have to say this. I recommend very highly the other 3 shows on this that I mentioned, but this one is a bit more of a mixed bag, and we'll get into that when we get into the explanation, because that kind of directly ties into the quality of the show Voltron Legendary Defender. One of the main characters in the show, Shiro, is gay, and the show does a lot of fucking fumbling in telling you this fact. Now you might be thinking, come on, they couldn't have fumbled that bad. Well, he died in Season 2, and they didn't reveal he was gay until Season 7. Okay, that's like a little bit of a oversimplification of the explanation, but yes, what I said is true. It's a fantasy, like, sci-fi show, so there's like some magic mumbo jumbo that makes him come back to life. Long story, if I remember correctly, because I haven't seen the show in a while, it was a clone, and then the magical flippity flu that happened after he died, he got transferred into the clone. Regardless, like, long story, but like in the episode where this happens, like, this happens at the finale of one of the seasons, and the opening of the next season, Season 7, it's a story arc, a storyline about how Shiro is basically, like, he has flashbacks. Like, him and another character, Keith, had some flashbacks to him and Shiro's life. To, like, basically, like, to explain, because, like, they're implied to have known each other before, but we don't really get a 100% explanation of that relationship up until Season 7. That's a little bit of another problem. Especially considering Keith at one point disappeared for, like, a majority of a certain season. So, like, again, like, there's a lot of fumbling in the show. But during one of the flashbacks, Keith sneaks around and hears an argument between Shiro and a character that is introduced in this flashback, Adam. Adam is very, very worried about Shiro. And, like, literally, it's like, Shiro, are you sure you can do this? Adam, I'm fine. Trust me. No, I worry about you, Shiro. I can't be here while you do this. If you're gonna do this, then I have to leave. And he's like, fine, be that way. And it's like, it's nothing explicit, but there's very heavy implications that maybe, like, it can be read in just enough of a way that that they're not gay, but there's a little bit of an implication that maybe they were. By the time I had to watch this show, because I had to watch the pilot for like a college essay, and I ended up getting really addicted to the show for a little bit. I liked why I watched it, and it was really good, up until it wasn't. Again, we can't get into that here. Oh wait, yes we can, because a lot of this is the reason why the show just went downhill. Plus the show was, I'll be real, like, it's basically like Power Rangers. It's like, don't expect a lot of really high quality storytelling. It's very clear that if this would have been great to air on TV, honestly, because it would have been a great thing for like young teenage boys to like kind of get into. Not young teenage boys, but like like the 10 to like 12 demographic, like that age. Like again, the Power Rangers age. But there was also another interesting thing that was about that. This storyline is revealed. It shows Adam and Shiro's relationship, potential drama. And that was the season that the Voltron and the Legendary Defenders would be heading home, because they hadn't been to Earth since the first season. So now it's like, okay, now we can start, maybe in a couple of episodes when they return to Earth, we can get some culmination of the storyline. Maybe they're able to get a bit more explicit about this. Maybe they're able to like do anything else. A mere 7 episodes later, Adam literally fucking dies. And unlike Shiro, he doesn't get no magical flippity flu. So guess what? He died and he can't come back. So when he comes back, like when Shiro gets to Earth, it's like, where's Adam? And then they see a picture of like Adam dead. And it's like, Adam. That's all you get. That's all you get. Gay representation? I mean, that's proof that they're gay. Adam was killed. The bury your gays trope. That's literally proof. And then, not only that, for the last season, they pushed Shiro into the fucking background. Cause this is... I have to get into a little bit of a fucking rant about the whole show. Like, okay, so Shiro, in season 2, he was intended to die. Die for real. Like, 100%. But some of the writers got cold feet because in the background, they did want Shiro to be gay. But again, the higher-ups were breathing down their neck and wouldn't really let them do anything in regards to that. So they brought him back through that whole clone drama, and it kind of messed up the vibe of the show because it was very much seeming like they were going in one direction, but then when, like, because the whole, if you don't know the premise of Voltron, the premise of Voltron is that there are 5 lions that combine to become the legendary Voltron. There are 5 paladins: Keith, Lance, Shiro, Hunk, and Pidge. Then, after Shiro dies, what happens is that the lions get reshuffled. It's funny because like in the original show, the original anime that it's based on, there's like a huge like drama because one of the characters is like Keith is the black lion, but he wears red, and Lance wears blue, but he's in the red lion. And how it's explained in this show is that Shiro was the original pilot of the black lion, and then after he dies, Keith, like the black lion, sees Keith as the worthy successor. And what ends up happening is that he becomes the black paladin, Lance becomes the red paladin because, I don't know, and then the blue lion gets replaced with Princess Allura, who, again, in the original show, she wore pink but was in blue. But then, when Shiro came back, all of a sudden, Keith magically disappears. Like, they have Keith go on a weird spiritual journey all by himself. And, like, I think literally one whole season, he's just not there. Even though it's like, what? Huh? Why? Keith was one of the more interesting characters of the show. Why did they get rid of him? And they had some really cool backstory for him, but, like, and this kind of tries to go in depth on the backstory, but, like, they do this. It was so weird. And then, when Keith came back, what ended up happening is that Shiro got shafted because they wouldn't kill him. Because, again, spoilers for the show if you haven't seen it, it's revealed that the clone was actually evil the whole time. So, it seems like what they're going to do is they're going to have Keith kill the clone, or the clone will die, and then Keith will then, like, be, like, perfect for being the Black Paladin. But, for some reason, they won't let that happen. So then Shiro's brought back, and he just gets shafted from the Black Lion for no reason, and then just fades into the background. I don't remember jack shit of what he did in the last season, because he becomes a background character. He becomes a prop. And what's even more proof is that he gets married to another prop, because another background character coincidentally happened to be gay. They don't even mention his fucking name in the show, but he's gay too. And then he's revealed to be married to Shiro in the post-credits scene. Like, seriously, Wow. Voltron really fumbled. And this is even without acknowledging like the very big fan dramas in regards to the shipping in this show. That gets 10 times worse. Steven Universe had it a little bit better. A show that has done wonders for LGBTQ representation in the United States. It was very much pushed into not doing so by Cartoon Network. Rebecca Sugar being told directly, quote, "You can't have these characters be in a romantic relationship," unquote, referring to Ruby and Sapphire, two characters that are... Basically, the whole show is, again, if you don't know, the whole cast of the show is basically supposed to be sapphic MBs. Like, they're non-binary, but they go by she, her pronouns. Like, none of the gems really have a male crush or a male love interest. Well, they do, but they don't do anything with it, and it's like, their relationship with male characters are a lot more implied, but with female characters, they're the ones that get explicitly, or I guess the female, quote-unquote, because, like, again, they're supposed to be MBs. It's a little bit complex, because, like, another problem was the fact that Rebecca Sugar herself was non-binary. She goes by she, they pronouns. And despite the fact that she knew she was non-binary for a while, she just never told anybody publicly until after the show was over, because one of the big things that Rebecca Sugar was known for was being, quote, the first woman to make a Cartoon Network show. Now, what interesting happened with Ruby and Sapphire was that Rebecca Sugar ignored them, because one of the big aspects about Ruby and Sapphire that I haven't mentioned, which doesn't make any sense if you haven't seen the show, is the fact that they fuse into one of the main characters of the show, Garnet. So quite literally, their relationship is essential to the show. And Rebecca was, like, one of the big things about Rebecca was that they're kind of conciliatory. They ignored what CN was doing and just did what they did. And even went so far as to just allow Cartoon Network to edit out a lot of the elements about their relationship in foreign dubs. Like, a lot of times I think there's a meme that goes around that it's like, oh, in this country, they give Ruby a mustache. It's not true, but, like, yes, they do kind of hide the fact that Ruby and Sapphire are in a relationship and imply that they're just good friends. And unbeknownst to Cartoon Network, Rebecca was literally crafting an arc/episode that would be the biggest thing for gay rights in a long time. Ruby and Sapphire's wedding. Like, she literally built up, there was an arc that was going to happen where, like, it was a big part of the show's story arc. Like, it was very much quintessential to the show's story. And that's why Steven Universe is regarded as a very good show and a good thing for the LGBTQ movement in general. Because it did a lot. She made these things, like, very quintessential to the show, to the point where people will see things that might not even necessarily be there. Many people regard the finale of Steven Universe as a huge fucking trans allegory. And considering Rebecca Sugar is, again, non-binary, perhaps that might be their life writing the material. And Rebecca put a lot of effort to make sure that this thing went off right. They played all the cards, they did all the deeds, they did all of everything right. They played by the rules, they did it bit by bit. And then for this one, this was when they were going to go the one bit too far. And one of the big things that they did to try and explain, again, to make it good, to show this, it's a thing that I very much like about this a lot. Because if you don't know anything about the show, Ruby is portrayed as typically masculine. They wear pants. They look masculine. You could literally, if I showed you a picture of them and said boy or girl, you'd probably just go, okay, they're a boy. But Sapphire is portrayed to be feminine with a lot of things, like the color scheme, the appearance, the fact that Sapphire was a dress. Like, literally, Sapphire is clearly meant to be the more feminine one in the relationship. But for the wedding, Rebecca Sugar decides to have Sapphire wear a suit of a groom and have Ruby wear a wedding dress. And according to Rebecca, even though, again, Cartoon Network was, like, taking a lot of the praise for all this, according to Rebecca, the second that this show, like, this episode entered production, Cartoon Network basically told Rebecca, yeah, your show's canceled. The only silver lining was the fact that Rebecca Sugar was able to convince them to give them at least a couple more episodes, like a little bit longer, to tie up the story arc. And they were already in contract to produce a movie, So they were able to use that to secretly push the story further. And then, due to that, they were able to get a 20-episode miniseries as well. So, she ended up getting the last laugh. However, there is one other person who unfortunately did not get so lucky in this endeavor. And it was Dana Terrace, the creator of the show The Owl House. A show that has gotten a lot of praise as well for its representation of LGBTQ people. Some even may go so far as to say that it is better on that subject than Steven Universe. I would say not necessarily, but the biggest difference is simple. Steven Universe did a lot, and Owl House came after Steven Universe. So naturally, they were able to get away with a lot more. If Steven Universe had not pushed the dialogue, the Owl House probably wouldn't have gotten anything close to what it did get. So, but basically, Dana Terrace, much like Rebecca Sugar, had a bit of a history within the network that they worked at. So, Dana was tasked with making the show. And they knew that one of the things they wanted to do was have some gay representation in the show. And almost immediately after this was being proposed, Disney told her you could not have any kind of gay storyline among the main characters. To which Dana just point blank told Disney to fuck off and was ready to quit right there. Like, according to her, she was ready to get a new job somewhere else. But then Disney turned around and begged her, like, no, please, please, please do the show. And they were just like, fine, you can have the gays in it, whatever. So, Dana Terrace decided to go along and do some gay representation in the show. The first season has the main character, Luz, be crushed on by another character named Amity, with season 2 having Luz start to reciprocate those feelings, culminating in them kissing in the penultimate episode of the season. Coincidentally, while these episodes that were going to take their relationship from a implied thing to very much an explicit thing, Disney announced that the show would be ending after its quote-unquote third season, 3 44-minute episodes, because The Owl House, quote, didn't fit with the Disney brand. Really. A fantasy series doesn't fit with the Disney brand. A show about witches doesn't fit the Disney brand. A show with a writing style very similar to one of your most popular recent shows doesn't fit with your brand. Huh. Interesting. The cancellation happened so far into production that there are literally many episodes where Dana Terrace is just openly calling out Disney multiple times. Like, there's one character where she plays a character who's like, you know what? I'm sick and tired of all your big establishment rules. I quit. Another episode has the characters literally reference the fact, man, wouldn't you rather go to the beach instead of doing, like, this big epic story arc? We don't have time for that right now. Hell, the beginning of the episode of the third season literally has a flash forward sequence showing a ton of things that each were clearly supposed to be their own episodes in this third season. And they make references to many off-screen adventures saying, we blah blah, remember this thing we did? Or, we did so much this past summer or whatever. It's almost as if you wanted to do something more than just 3 44-minute specials. Dana Terrace literally had to rip certain episodes in half, staple them to other episodes, and rush through an entire season's worth of story arcs to fit into 3 44-minute segments. There were a lot of things that ended up on the cutting room floor that a lot of people were very interested in seeing. Like, 132 minutes, that's all she got to do the final season. There are a lot of people who would crave to have 132 minutes to tell a story, But clearly, she was promised more, but had to condense it to that low. And Dana was fucking pissed, as she should be. She should be pissed. Now, personally, that leads into a little bit of a divide because I think because apparently the fandom, there are a lot of people who do think that the third season is technically the worst. I personally don't see that, though granted, I have not seen much of the previous seasons because by this point in time, I was kind of tired of this format of TV shows where it's like at the beginning of the show, it's like little fun random adventures, and then at the end, it's like, oh, this is a big epic story arc. It's like, if you're gonna be a big epic story arc, can you do it from the beginning, please? I kind of want that. Or it could be that my attention span is just getting worse and worse with every time, so I'm having less time to dedicate to shows. But I do think that Dana did fine with what she got. She was forced to have 132 minutes, so she did well with those 132 minutes. And it even benefited well, because it sped up the whole final parts. And I think it did work to an extent. It worked for what it is, but again, she was given a shit hand to begin with, so the fact that you got anything good out of it was good. In fact, Dana was so pissed that she was literally willing to literally kill the show. Like, literally have it so that the show ended on a cliffhanger just as a fuck you to Disney. But since she cares more about her fans than she does about the company that fucking her over, you know, she gave a love letter to the fans instead, while still using that third season as a big fuck you to Disney. Literally in the first episode, she, Luz, the main character, openly comes out as bisexual. No ifs, ands, or buts. No, oh, well, you see, I'm not really a fan of labels per se. No. She's just point blank, literally, the first thing you see in the intro sequence is literally Luz saying that she's bisexual. And then Rainbow appears in front of them, and then another character starts, basically every other character starts waving pride flags everywhere. And they have one of the main characters, Camilla, Luz's mother, wear a pride pin for the rest of the show. In the show itself, it literally looks like they literally just stapled the pride, heart over her character model. I honestly don't care if it was or wasn't, because again, it's a big fuck you to Disney, who fucked her over. And again, during this time, what was going on? Disney was running around claiming we're this huge allies of, the gay people. Look, we're fighting Ron DeSantis. It's no, you're killing a show from one of your LGBTQ creators right now. And you can't claim that you're this big ally to the LGBTQ when you're literally killing a gay show right now. I guess I should answer this question before we close out this episode. Is rainbow capitalism good or bad? It's a little complicated. Well, yes, I'm an anti-capitalist, and I yearn for the day where we do not have to rely on big companies who do not care about us to basically only pretend to be supportive in order to give us, in order for them to force us to try and give them their money. But there is an element of it that I do see that is positive. I know that there's a lot of problems with it, and I have read some of the articles that say, oh, rainbow capitalism is, exploitive. Yes, it is exploitive. Yes. Capitalism in and of itself is exploitive. And the fact that Disney, again, is pretending to be this big ally while still literally shitting on us every step of the way means literally nothing. But gay characters being in shows does help raise, people understanding what gay people are. Representation is a good thing. But I would much prefer actual systemic reasons and actual systemic, fixes of the problem rather than, of course, the, rainbow capitalism, exploitative nature of everything. I don't really give a fuck if I can buy a McThrobber for only $2.99 at participating locations, when in 31 states, you can kill gay and trans people and claim that you were forced into doing it because you might get a lesser sentence. I would much rather prefer fixes to the situations rather than just being exploited. And that is where I do have some agreement with the people who do oppose rainbow capitalism. However, there is one element that I don't agree with, and it is where some people believe that gay culture should not be more mainstream. the making it mainstream is a problem. I don't want to go that far, because isn't the whole end goal to literally be that one day gay people are more accepted and just part of regular society? In some elements, it's fine. In some elements, again, I would much rather prefer a system where capitalism doesn't exist and we just had, liberation of all peoples. But in the short term, there are some elements where it's, okay. Not even, good. I won't even say good, because good is too far. Okay. Or, I guess, passable. Amicable. Lesser of two evils. If it's either, again, I guess this is a perfect example. Rainbow capitalism is literally lesser of two evils. So, yeah. Thank you for joining me on this Pride Month journey. But remember, just because the rainbow flags aren't, being exploited in the months, doesn't mean gay issues go away. Unlike these corporations, my support for you doesn't end in June. It continues forever. Thanks for watching this video. Be sure to like, comment, share, subscribe, and click the bell to notify when a future video of mine comes out. And if you want more content from me, you can go to my website, follow my Twitter, join my Discord, or consider supporting me on Patreon.